What's up, everybody? We're back again, and we're excited to dive into this word. We hope you guys have been enjoying it. Before we get in, I got to tell you, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this, share it. That really it helps more than you know. We're going to put this on a podcast platform as well for people that listen on there. So that'll be coming soon. And guys, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I spent the day. I had to do my 2 times a year. I have to go get my doctor's checkup and everything. So I got all checked up.
All good.
Everything. He said my blood pressure was exceptional this time.
Exceptional.
Well, you've been tearing it up since then.
I'm telling you, Peter
you
never
go.
sits still. He's just like NASCAR, man.
Yeah.
That's right, man. Just turning left for no reason. Yeah. But he did tell me I have to schedule my colonoscopy.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had one 3 years ago, and it was disturbing enough that they put me on the 3-year plan. So every 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Pat and I are still good for a little while.
Yeah,
before
right.
that. Yeah.
You know, I'd like to say that I'm going to have a lot of sympathy for you, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna.
Hey, look, my wife tells me I get invited to hemorrhoid conventions because I'm the perfect butthole.
There you go.
So,
See?
there
you go.
It's all right. It's
There
all
you
right.
go. Yes. So anyway, yes, this is episode 4, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Total Recall. Pat, do you have Total Recall?
Very little.
Where did we leave off last
Man,
time?
I don't know. Jason come in this weekend, man, and killed it.
I
and
know.
Messed me up.
I know. It was awesome. We had a great week. But anyway, what we're doing here is we're tracking through this series on spiritual warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, if you say, well, we're gonna preach a series or teach a series on spiritual warfare, we kind of have this idea of what's coming. Okay, so we're gonna pray fervently, and we're gonna lay hands on people. We're gonna cast those demons out. We're gonna we're gonna clean up our habits. All these different kinds of things. But we find out that the whole concept of spiritual warfare, if we're really going to get into it, it is, you've got to go all the way down to the bedrock of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, God creates the heavens and the earth. He creates all the stuff. He creates his humans, the crown jewel of his creation. Sin enters the world, and now you've got a battle.
Yep.
There's no way that good and evil, holiness and sin can coexist.
That's right.
One is going to overtake the other.
It's a light and dark. I mean, it's a constant battle.
Yeah,
It is.
and so you see this this backdrop, this soundtrack behind the whole Bible of spiritual warfare. Everything is related to this cosmic battle between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is interesting too. You mentioned that because I'm sure all of us have heard sermons or had lessons throughout our lives in Sunday school or in preaching where they've taught on spiritual warfare.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
like you said, it's never they don't go into the Nephilim, the Elohim. I always mess that word up. Elohim. For some reason, it's a challenging word for me. But that and
What's the Elohim?
yeah. I mean, like I'm gonna be like the Elohim. You never know how I'm gonna say it.
Elohim.
Yeah, Elohim. It's like a gyro or gyro,
Right.
But the it's just interesting how this has rattled some people because it's not been dove into.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a topic that I feel like most people gloss over. Myself, I've said many times, always have.
I feel like every time I've heard someone preach on spiritual warfare, it's always that New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
That's
good.
That's kind of how I feel about it. It's always like, the new you, this is how you got to do it. And that's really not the...
Well, it's barely scratching the surface.
Right.
And honestly, if you don't know what's underneath everything and what's behind everything, then you're really just kind of, it's almost like your analogy of, sort of diving into hell with a water pistol.
That's it, man. Yeah. Just shooting in the dark.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're told, I grew up in a charismatic Pentecostal world, and that was always like, what rebuke that demon, make it say its name, and just take control. God's giving you authority. And I'm sitting there going, I ain't gonna do that.
Did you have any snakes?
No, we did not have snakes. No.
And see, I didn't grow up in church, and so the only thing I knew is what I was told.
Right.
And so everything is scary then.
Well,
Yeah.
You know what I
that's
mean?
exactly
Just
right.
like all these crazy people.
So,
Yeah.
so we have to ask her. We've been talking a little bit before we started rolling about just the state of our world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know every generation says they're the worst. It's the worst it's ever been. Stuff. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of getting to that age where we're seeing what our kids are facing, and we're watching the news, and we're seeing the commercials and the movies and all this stuff, and it just feels like we're living in a bunch of rot.
Yeah.
There's no common sense. There's no common decency. There's no, it's just an odd time. And then Logan, you were talking about all the shootings and all of the. I mean, it's
like
just,
every day.
It's madness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone seems miserable all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why is that stuff happening?
Well, my theory was, and that's what my wife and I were talking about. I'm seeing a decline of the more we get away from God, the more the madness comes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, biblically, we're pretty much told, the world is going to deteriorate essentially into that. I feel like that's kind of leading to the end of times. I'm not going to be one of those guys that gives you
setter.
the
Yeah,
date
right, exactly.
of when it's happening. But I do see, to me, when you remove God from all these elements, the crime, the danger, the madness, and everything, it's only gotten worse. It
Yeah.
seems like that's my
I
take.
was saying earlier about our state religion. I honestly believe that we do have a state religion, and it's atheism.
Yeah.
Just everyone is hell bent on not believing.
State-sanctioned religion.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's so funny that the atheist worldview is so wrapped up in separation of church and state.
Yeah.
But yet they got their own church, and it's
That's
all
it.
up in the state.
It's church of self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, not to get sidetracked too much, but there's no way to see the events of our world and then go back to ancient biblical history and see the mess that they were in.
Yeah.
Evil, only evil continuously. That
Yeah.
is something I do
That
think
word
about.
continuously is
Every
what messes
thought of
me
their
up.
heart
Yeah.
was only evil continually.
That
Yeah.
continually, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the way we feel. And then, you look in the New Testament, certainly through the Gospels, you see the horrors of the Roman Empire, and then how the Jewish religious leaders responded to it in an equally negative way. And then, here comes Jesus, and then there's the crucifixion, the resurrection. And nobody, most of the people don't believe that it was real. And then, you get on into the early church, and then there's persecution, and then there's all this kind of stuff. And so what common thread do we see all the way through history? We see spiritual warfare. It is an unseen battle.
Yep.
Against something that you can't see. And so to really, it's so important for us to understand the battle that goes on around us, because we are participants in that battle,
Yep.
Yeah.
whether we want to or not. I mean, we are.
I got a question for you on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So kind of talking about the madness of the world and all this. So we've been talking about, demons and fallen angels and angels, but these, like the shooters, for instance.
Yeah.
Do you think every case is demonic, or do you think some would you relate all of them to demonic influence or possession?
Absolutely.
I would say absolutely to a degree.
Well, think about this. What influences somebody to kill somebody else? Just, okay, you fly into a rage. Okay. What then pushes you over the edge to where you pick up a weapon and kill somebody? It's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just evil.
And it even comes back to mental health, right? Like if you have mental health issues, why do you have mental health issues? Sometimes it's genetic. Sometimes it's something in you.
Yeah.
Right? Because we live in a fallen world.
Yeah.
It's no different than someone who has cancer. They didn't go out and try to get cancer, but it's killing them.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, and this is why we're calling them influencers through this whole series. There's personal influencers, which are demons, and on the good side, angels, bring the message of God to us. But then there are meta influencers. They're influencers of societies and cultures.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about things like, oh, Hollywood's gone to Hades in a handbasket. Well, who's influencing Hollywood?
That's right.
And it's not just the city of Hollywood. It's the whole movie culture.
Yeah.
Wherever they're making the movies. You know, who's influencing the news media?
If they weren't making money doing it, they wouldn't be doing it.
That's exactly right. But once again, what is the, you know, I mean, James says, what's the source of quarrels among you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't have, and you want to get, and you lust, and you don't have, and it's at the root of it is all evil.
That's right.
You know, I mean, the money is a root of all kinds of evil.
Yeah.
And happiness, this is scientific as well. Happiness will motivate people to do things, but fear forces people to do things.
And see, this is the point, because we are spiritual beings. We're housed in a fleshly outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at our very core, we are spiritual beings, and so we are fallen spiritual beings. So that means we have a fleshly nature.
Yeah.
Anything that goes against our fleshly nature comes from God.
Yep.
And we have a choice. You know, Paul says, put on the new man, put it on. You have to put it on. Nobody's going to put it on for you. That means, open yourself up to the Holy Spirit inside of you to walk according to the Spirit. You will not carry out the desires of flesh. So we already have fleshly impulses. The influencers just push us one step into action.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, honestly, you know, we wrestle with this idea of suicide, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that people who commit suicide automatically go to hell. That I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they're not in their right frame of mind.
Yeah.
That they're in a severe state of depression and hopelessness. Influencers, you know, they push them.
Yep.
They're evil. They want them to kill themselves.
Yeah, no one makes that voice up in your head that tells you that you're worthless,
It's
that
super
you should
real.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That does not come from self.
No, it comes from the accuser.
Yep.
The father of all lies. So I don't want to, go around seeing a demon behind every bush, because we're not called to walk like that.
Right.
You know, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. We are covered when we have the Holy Spirit, all this stuff. But we have to go way back and say, how did this start?
Right.
Who started all this?
Yeah. Where was ground zero?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why we went all the way back to, Genesis 1:1. In the
Right.
beginning, God created the heavens, all the chambers of heaven, and he populated the chambers of heaven with all of these beings.
Mm-hmm.
And these beings who have free will began to fall. And then when God created man and put him in his temple, then those beings influenced humans to fall as well.
Yeah.
And now you have a fallen world with a domain of evil. And then and this is what we're dealing with in the whole book of Genesis. You
Yep.
know, there is no, Jesus hadn't come yet. There's no Holy Spirit just, living inside of people.
Yeah.
It's still God's humans living in darkness, living in chaos. Yep. Okay. So that's why we started in Genesis 1 and dealt with the fall of Lucifer, which created this whole cosmic battle. And so we have angels, now we have demons, cherubim, we have seraphim, and then those are the personal influencers. And then we go on, and that's when we talked about the Elohim, that this is God's divine council. They are elite, godlike beings meant to co-rule with God, and a number of them developed pride in their own hearts, and they fell and created these hybrid, half divine, half physical,
superhuman.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It was so funny. I was talking with my friend Jesse a couple of days ago, and he was really trying hard to wrap his mind around it because we have not talked a lot about this in the church at all, ever. And he'd never heard about it, And he's going, that's crazy, though. That's crazy that a divine creature could actually have offspring with a human being. It's like, I can't even wrap my mind around it. And I said, yeah, but you celebrate it every Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? And man, it stopped him dead in his tracks,
Yep.
He's like, oh, I never.
They never put that together.
Never, yeah. And so anyway, this is the beginning of everything, and God has to create a flood that wipes out all of the beings on the earth.
Yeah.
It says Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. I was looking into that a couple of days ago too. Noah certainly was a righteous person with a righteous family, but he also was the only one that had an untainted bloodline.
Right.
It's like, dude, you're the only, you know,
You're our only hope.
yeah, exactly.
It's important too that the Genesis world, it's the known world at the time.
That's right. And,
Yeah.
and, you know, there's all kinds of speculations. You can look on every street corner and find a different theory about the flood. But we know that it was pervasive. It could have been the whole planet, might not have been the whole planet. We'll just leave that up to the experts.
Right.
Suffice it to say, now we're to the end of the flood. And if you look through Genesis 10, it has all of Noah's descendants and all these genealogies are super important. We're not going to go through all that stuff. But chapter 11 of Genesis is the third component of the groundwork for spiritual warfare. Genesis 1 through 11 is the prologue to the story of the Old Testament, which is the story of the Old Testament is God's dealing with his chosen people, the Israelites, out of which will come a seed, the Messiah, which will redeem the whole world.
Right.
Okay. So if you're to ask any ancient Israelite who would know all this stuff, what are the three primary events in Genesis? What are the three, they would say the fall of man / Satan, the flood, and this episode right here in chapter 11, the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Yes, the Tower of Babel.
As Sunday school shows, the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is it's 9 verses. That's it.
But it really shows, man, and it goes perfect with what we've been looking at. You could read that and just
blast right through.
Well,
that's it.
What we have done, just like some of these other, I sort of chuckle at some of the stories we tell in Sunday school because some of them are horrifying. They're horrifying.
Yeah.
Daniel in the lion's den is terrifying.
Could you imagine that? Yeah. Actually happening.
The 3 Hebrew children in the fiery furnace. It's
always very happy kind of.
Right.
David and Goliath, they usually stop before he cuts his head off with his own sword and holds it up for everybody to see.
It's usually a little happy song that goes with it too.
It is.
I know. And here, once again, spiritual warfare. Elijah, the prophets of Baal, one of the fallen Elohim.
Right.
We find out is not an imaginary made up God. It's actually a real God. And so here's the prophets of Baal, and Elijah calls down fire from heaven. We stop right there.
Yep.
Except for Elijah took them all down to the brook and killed them all by himself. He kills like hundreds of prophets.
Yeah.
And we don't tell that part in Sunday school.
We always keep the Bible G-rated. We don't ever realize that it is an action, horror, love story. Everything is in there.
It's all in there.
Yeah, it's all in there. And graphic.
And I think to a degree, like I kind of get, you want to shelter your children. I mean, I do the same. I got 5-year-old twins. I want to protect their innocence on stuff. But I also think they do need to know the realities of this.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you think, how many nurseries have you seen decorated like Noah's Ark?
Yeah.
They don't show what's underneath the water.
Right. Yeah. All the bodies floating everywhere.
Yeah. The dove.
That's a good thing to remember there. Next time I see somebody do that, I'll be like, when are you going to paint the corpses floating around everywhere?
I know. But anyway, this is what we do at the Tower of Babel. We reduce it down to, it's just a little Bible story about humans getting very prideful, and it's a life lesson as to why we shouldn't be proud, because God doesn't like it, and if God doesn't like it, then He's going to come down, and He's going to confuse us and shake us up, and He's going to get us back on the right track. And I suppose in some way there's that there, but that's not what this story is really all about.
Yeah. That's the paint by numbers version.
Yeah, this is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
In Israel's area, in the history of humans, that sets up. It is a direct setup to the next episode, which starts with Abraham.
Yep. God
coming to this pagan man, and by the way, Abraham was not a saint.
Yeah, for real.
He was not a saint. And yet we see God choosing these unlikely people who were not righteous and who were not holy. Abraham believed God and obeyed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. But he didn't start out that way.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's pivotal too. Every character in Scripture, regardless of how jacked up they were, that's the two things: is they believe God and they obey.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
So, I want to just read these 9 verses because it's not that long, and then I want to get you guys, kind of, first take, and then we'll kind of dive in just a little bit.
What version you reading over there?
I'm reading God's version, New American Standard.
Yeah, that's the version I rock.
New
All
American
right, let me
Standard,
see.
and not just New American Standard, New American
95.
Standard, 1995.
Yes,
I was
Right.
King James. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. You're KJV only, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the bumper sticker.
95, last good year for music.
What is
That's
the
right.
difference between the 95 and the 2000?
2000 is just another revision, and it sort of modernizes some language.
Okay.
And in some scholars' opinions, a few things got a little bit watered down in the process.
All right.
I say a 5-year difference.
That's gonna say pretty much. Yeah. Well, I'm on y'all's 90s version, so
Okay.
let's roll.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 11, verse 1, it says, "Now the whole earth used the same language and the same words. And it came about as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, 'Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly.' And they used brick for stone instead of stone. And they used tar for mortar, tar instead of mortar. And they said, 'Come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth.' And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, 'Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. And this is what they began to do, and now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down, let us, and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.' So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth." Okay. So Pat, just give us a couple of, high spots for you.
For me, I was talking about this before we got on, that they used bricks and that they made it waterproof.
Yes.
That one messed me up. And then let us come down.
Yes.
Let us go down.
And it's a capital us.
It is.
Uh-huh.
It is.
So once again, we get into the same issue as we got into, as we explained last week. And for us, we know that's the Trinity,
Yeah.
but we also know that the council, the
Elohim.
Elohim that has not fallen,
Yeah.
and we know that because that's the way that Moses would have understood that, because he knew nothing of the Trinity.
Yeah.
So it is both at the same time.
What do we know about the land of Shinar?
We know a little bit about the land of Shinar. It has Nineveh at the top, and it's kind of it is a plain. There's nothing. I mean, obviously, the city of Babylon, the hub of the Babylonian Empire, would be located right there.
Yep.
And Shinar is mentioned a couple of times in cryptic prophecies. It's not generally regarded by God as a very holy place.
This is what I found that was really cool, is this land.
Yeah.
You have Ninevites.
Yeah.
You have Babylonians.
Yeah.
Chaldeans.
Uh-huh.
Like all these great enemies
Yeah.
are from there.
Oh, yeah. And at one point, it's in Zechariah. Of course, Zechariah prophesied in the return from Babylon. And he says, I don't remember it word for word, but at one point he says they drew up this giant basket and had a lead lid on it, lead top. And they lifted the lead top, and this woman comes out and he says,
Yep.
There's the prostitute.
The flying scroll.
Put her back in there.
Yeah.
And drop the lid back on her. So, and then we know that in Revelation, what is Babylon called? The great whore.
That's true.
There you go. Yeah.
So Shinar could be like, what happens in Shinar stays in Shinar.
It's Vegas.
It's our Vegas.
Exactly. A little Sin City there.
Yeah.
Also, the tar, I did that. I've realized that studying today. It's also the same thing that Moses's basket,
That's
which
exactly
was
right.
his ark,
Yes.
was wrapped in.
That was his salvation picture. Yep, exactly. Completely right. Okay, so Logan, what are a couple of high spots for you? Anything you noticed?
Well, the one thing I noticed is verse 6 would be one I feel like people would get like tattooed on them or have a bumper sticker of. In particular, the part where it says, and now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Like I can just see that because they failed or didn't read the following and be like, this is actually not good. Like, this is bad.
Yeah.
So that stood out. And it is wild. Again, never thought about the significance of how they built this. I just assumed they were building a strong tower.
Yeah.
And until we had really talked about it, you don't think about they were God proofing this thing.
That's
in
exactly
their
what
mind.
they're.
Bring another flood.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And when they make it out, it specifically says bricks, not stone.
Yeah.
Because stone and mortar would be porous. But these bricks that they're going to burn extra, it's going to be condensed. This is going to be solid.
It's their version of reinforced concrete.
That's exactly right. If they had rebar, they would use rebar.
Yes, sir.
And then they use this. There's a particular word for this tar, and I don't remember what it is. You can go down that rabbit hole. But
slime.
It is slime. They dug some stuff up from the riverbed, and they mixed it with some tree pitch or something like that.
It's the same word they use for the tar pits in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right, exactly. So anyway, it is a rubbery kind of slimy substance, and it would be waterproof.
Yep.
So if they put it together with these bricks and so what they're trying to do is say, whatever we're going to do right now, if God doesn't like it and he decides to bring another flood,
We're good.
We'll be ready.
well, most of us will. Some of
Whoever's
us will.
in the tower.
Yeah.
Whoever's strong enough to, climb up the tower, because it wouldn't hold everybody.
Right.
They're just going it's like the two guys walking through the woods, and the guy says, "What happens if a bear shows up?" And he says, "We're going to run." And he says, "We can't outrun a bear." And he says, "I don't have to outrun a bear."
Outrun you.
Exactly right.
Use the buddy system, man. Yeah.
That's exactly right. All I need is, a good pair of shoes and a can of bacon grease, and that's all. So yes, you are correct. You can see their intention. Okay, so let's back up and let's break this down, because all those are really, really good points. The first thing we see, it says, now the whole earth, you use the same language and the same words. Okay, so that is a very interesting sentence because literally it says, now the whole earth was of the same lip. Was of the same lip. And used the same words. So we can get caught up in all this language thing. There are scholars that, secular scholars that say there was never a time when the whole world spoke the same language.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. It's like, I think what's more important here is that they're making the same proclamation. They're of one mind. They have the same intent and purpose. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're discussing.
And I think the whole world references people coming together instead of going out.
Completely. So it doesn't have to be a blanket statement that everybody in the whole world
spoke the same language.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and you see that again, when it says in verse 6, behold, they are one people and they all have the same lip. And this is, this is what they begin to do. So then it says it came about as they journeyed east. They were probably traveling east. Maybe they were traveling east, but the word east is a figurative, symbolic word in the Old Testament.
For yonder.
Adam and Eve settled. Yeah, yonder. That's
Over
exactly
yonder.
right. Yeah, back up there over yonder way.
Yep.
Yeah, it sort of referenced the unknown.
The beyond.
We don't know what's over there in the east.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve settled east of Eden, place we don't know. Cain had to go into the wilderness to the east, and so now they're coming from the east. So they're coming from all kinds of different places.
Yeah.
But they all kind of have the same thing in mind. They're all speaking the same language. You know, if somebody said to me, do you want to drive to Cincinnati and see the Mariners play the Reds in a
Now
couple of
you're
weeks?
talking.
I would say you're speaking my language.
Yes, now we're talking.
That's exactly right. Although they are not doing well right now, but that's another story. Spiritual warfare, man.
That's it, man.
That's it. So they're coming from everywhere, and they found this plain, the land of Shinar, and settled there. You know, so here they are, and they said to one another, and then first they say, let us make bricks, burn them thoroughly, and let's make some tar, some slime. But the interesting thing is, the first thing, their first idea is, come, let us build for ourselves a city.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't gotten to the tower yet. So what they want to do, their first intent is to build a city. Now, a city, again, in the Old Testament, especially in Genesis and all the way through Numbers, city is viewed as a negative.
Mm-hmm.
When they sent the spies into the land, they came back and said they have fortified cities. Anytime there was a city, somebody was up to no good.
Right.
There was walls to
Scheming.
keep people out. There was walls to fire weapons on top of. Cities were just generally, kind of, groupings of ne'er-do-wells. There was, so.
It was DC.
Yeah. So.
Capitol Hill.
So what they're telling themselves is, let us come together and let's consolidate power.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. So why then, Logan, why would you want to consolidate power?
So then you can be prepared to take on the gods, essentially, or the god, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, eventually. But initially, it was so that we can be more powerful than other people.
Together.
But see, the only weird part to me on that would be that it's everybody's there, aren't they?
Well, not everybody.
Okay.
I mean, it's using this, when say the whole earth,
Yeah.
the whole, they're talking about the world that they know.
Gotcha.
They don't know anything outside of, what's beyond.
Yeah.
So we know that there were other people groups elsewhere, but this is dealing with,
Okay. Well, then, obviously, your strength in numbers.
Yep.
Right. And so, but also they're thinking to themselves, we could create a class system in our own society.
Mm-hmm.
Let's build a city. And so somebody's got to be the mayor, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody gets to be the underlings, and then somebody's got to be the cops, and everybody's going to get a piece of this
pick
pie.
who gets to be at the top of the tower then, couldn't they? Couldn't they kind of
Sure they
through
could.
their
Yeah.
systems there? We got the guy, the dude's building our bricks, this dude's doing the slime, but we'll be up in the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is what they're doing is saying, let's create an empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An empire. All the money will come to us. All the goods and services will come to us. We will have the weapons. We will have the power. But that's not going to be good enough for them.
Mm-hmm.
They need a next level power. And so they say, let's build a tower, and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. So most of the time and this is what we're taught in Sunday school, this is where their pride comes in, right? So we're going to build this tower. It's going to reach into heaven. We're going to climb up this tower. We're going to break through the heavens. We're going to, overtake God, or we're going to be like God, or we're going to have some special connection to God, and we're going to elevate ourselves. And it kind of appears that way at first, but now that we know what we know about the demons and Lucifer and the Elohim and what the Elohim were up to once they fell.
They want the big guns.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, they want them to come to them.
That's
Yeah.
where that next statement comes in. Let us make for ourselves a name.
That's exactly right. Okay, so remember last time when we talked about what it talks about in the book of Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once again, Enoch, not inspired scripture, but well worth reading so we can understand the way that they were thinking at those times. Then their thinking was that these fallen Elohim would intentionally come down and meet with humans and impart to them special knowledge, special wisdom, technological advancements, scientific advancements, so that they would be able to not only have a leg up on everybody else, but also so they would depend on themselves and would decreasingly depend on God.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think about this in these terms, and so basically what they're trying to do now. This tower we know is a ziggurat.
Mm-hmm.
A ziggurat pyramids or ziggurats.
Stepped.
Yeah. They were different forms of fashion. It was not the kind of round cone shaped tower that you see in the pictures. It was steps like this. Okay. So they're going to build this tower that will reach into the heavens. What they're trying to do is not elevate themselves. They're calling on the gods to come down to them and meet with them right there.
Yep.
Now, according to legend, Book of Enoch, whatever you want to call it, the headquarters for the gods meeting with humans was Mount Hermon. That was frighteningly close. It was in the land of Bashan, which is another important name in the Bible. But remember Jesus when he takes him to Caesarea Philippi, and there's the big cave, which is supposed to be the portal into the underworld, and he talks about the gates of hell and all that stuff. That was in Bashan, right close to Mount Hermon.
Right.
Okay, so shortly after that, Jesus climbs up a mountain and transfigures himself. It's said to be Mount Hermon.
Wow.
So Jesus goes right into the headquarters of where the gods are meeting with the humans and shows himself for who he really is and says, I'm taking over your territory. I've captured the flag.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a new sheriff.
And by the way, I've got Moses with me. I've got Elijah with me. I got the law and the prophets with me.
And then that makes sense too, because the disciples, they said, let us build a tabernacle.
I know.
Yeah, and Jesus is like, no.
No. That's exactly right. Okay, so back to Babel. They're wanting the gods to make this their new headquarters. And, you know, I mean, if they can get extra knowledge from the gods and they can get extra skills and extra, I mean, whether or not, you don't have to believe this is all in scripture and all this stuff. This is a mindset. And it's a documented mindset that we know that was prevalent.
That's right.
At least at the time that Moses wrote this down. So there was an awareness of this. So they're wanting at the very least, they're wanting the gods to come and help them and give them an extra power. Now, I do know of one other Old Testament scholar that I respect, John Walton. He's got some incredible books. I mean, the guy is just like a walking encyclopedia. And his view is actually that they wanted to attract Yahweh God there. That this was they wanted to attract Yahweh in through physical means, and they wanted to have the corner on the market kind of thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with him. He's
plausible.
a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd ask on that is, what would be the point of God proofing their tower if that's the case?
That's kind of where it breaks down for me a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of unless God would be so angry with them for trying to achieve something through physical means that was only achievable from God coming to them. I mean, I get it. Once again, what's the common thread here? They're trying to do something under their own power to make themselves more powerful.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They want more power for themselves. Let us make for ourselves a name. Now, the concept of a name in their world was a big deal.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the 10 Commandments that you shall not take the name of the Lord in vain. And actually, that word "take" means to bear.
Yeah.
It's not about cussing. It's about taking on the Lord's name in vain without anything to back it up, abusing the name. So they're trying to make themselves a name. Why? Why are they trying to do all this stuff? Because this is what they don't want to happen. What do they don't want to happen? Lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth.
Yeah.
Okay, what did God tell them to do?
Go be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Scatter. Yeah.
Go on the face of the earth.
Yeah. Go. And so we want to do this thing.
And they said, no.
That's exactly right.
See, that would also kind of break down the theory that they're trying to
That's kind of what I think too.
Yeah. I mean, if they were getting to big G,
then
that would not, because they're directly disobeying. Like I said,
and that's the whole point of it. This is what gives them away. They know they're disobeying.
Yeah.
Because they know what God told them to do. And they say, let's build this city. Let's build this tower. Let's get all this stuff that we really want. And then we'll make for ourselves a name so we won't need God. We'll have all of these, little g God skills.
Yeah.
And we won't need God. And then, if we could do all this stuff so that we won't have to actually obey God.
Yeah, the world would be ours.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just stop right there for a second. Let's think about the world that we live in right now. How many people are trying to make a name for themselves?
Here Peter goes meddling.
Yeah.
He's meddling now.
So they don't have to obey God.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's absolutely right.
I mean, think about it.
You can see it even in the state of politics.
Completely.
You know, politics used to be, not I say used to be, but like forever ago, it was policies. This is what the country needs. This is what that. Now it's what does this person morally stand for?
Yeah.
And it's usually the most immoral person
I know.
that has the biggest following.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing with celebrities. You look at musicians or movie stars, anything, the more controversial they are, the bigger the following.
Yeah.
And that's why the name of this sermon coming up is called Platforms. Because for a leader to be called a leader, you have to have followers.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you don't have any followers, you're just automatically not a leader. For an influencer to be an influencer, you have to have a platform. You have to have a platform that raises you above everyone else so that you can influence from the top down.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they want to make a name for themselves. They want to have a platform. And so they know that they can't do this all on their own. So they create a platform for the influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's the God that they're going to worship because that it's transactional. Because that God's going to give them something.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's going to give them something that will give them a leg up over the rest of everything in the world. Okay.
What would they think? What did they think they were going to give to the God?
Oh, they would give everything to the God. I mean,
Yeah, that was what I was just about to get to as well. As demons will give you whatever you want. They will promise you the world and
But
deliver.
nothing in this life is free, my friend.
and
no
that's
free
it.
lunch in the
But-
jungle, man.
But what
Yeah.
do you give?
Yeah.
Whatever they ask.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That is it.
And
Yeah.
you will openly give it to them.
Yeah.
And you remember this whole colloquialism of he sold his soul to the devil.
Yeah.
Well, you might not have to sell your soul. You probably just freely give it along with
Yeah,
everything
that's
else
it.
because you become intoxicated with what the God is giving you.
The fame,
Yeah.
the money, the glory. Yeah.
Yep. And you will buy it hook, line, and sinker every time.
And when that God says sacrifice your firstborn, you're
Yeah.
walking them through the fire, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
If the God says I want the first 30% of your crop, you're going to bring all that food that you could have been storing up.
And people take that so literal. It's where, I will never kill my firstborn, blah, blah, blah. I was like, really? Are you around?
Yeah.
Are you really involved in that kid's life?
I know.
That was
know.
one of the things I really appreciated that Jason talked about.
Yeah.
Two of them. One, he said, he was like, I was a millionaire by the time I was 22, 25 years old. He said, and everybody says, oh, well, I'd be different. If I had that money, I'd be different.
Yeah.
He mentioned that. And he was like, and every morning I woke up just hollow and empty.
Yep.
And then you talking about the children.
Yes.
He shared his story about his dad going and he was working in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, man, his dad was like, well, I'm doing this for my family.
Yeah.
But he's gone. And then, Jason said, man, I just hold him and didn't want him to leave. And he said, barely saw him. And then he's like, I'm never doing that to my kids.
Until he did it.
Until he did it.
Exactly.
Same thing.
That's
So,
exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, people do. I mean, again, I even challenge myself here. Like that's something I try to do. Farming, I'm tied up a lot. I'm working a lot, but also try to be intentional, like just
completely.
to hang out,
Yes.
to hang out.
Yes.
I think we end up balancing it, right? Like I'm doing this so I can give my kids the best life, blah, blah, blah. But the best life is a united family.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I loved what he was talking about, shepherding your children.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that we can be home every day and not shepherd our children.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
what you
Yeah.
said.
Well, this right here. How many do you think are so in tune with this that the world is going on over here? Their kids are going on over here, and they're just right here.
Oh man, I only read my Bible on that thing. I don't do anything outside.
How the Mariners doing?
Mariners who? No, but
And I'm guilty.
We all
I'm
are.
guilty.
We
no,
all are.
we're all guilty.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's the thing is, and this is I think at the heart of this story is they're reaching for something that is more powerful in them than them, that is higher than them, but they don't realize how dangerous it is and how lethal it is.
Yeah.
They're reaching for something that's going to kill them so that they can get a name for themselves and get power for themselves. And I promise you that is part of the human condition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the same today as it was then, only now we're seeing it more and more condensed, more and more, I guess we're seeing it more prevalent and to a higher degree. What these mass shootings, they want the notoriety. Even if they shoot themselves, they want the notoriety.
And I think it's also the instant gratification. We live digitally now, like it or hate it. I mean, that's just the fact. That is fact.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so now if you're a young girl and you want to get someone to notice you, boom, Instagram, got it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's right there. If you want to commit some heinous crime and you want it to go around the world, you'll do it live.
Yeah.
You'll go live while you do it.
Well, was it the Boston bomber was on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine?
Yeah.
That right there, I was like, this is
crazy.
I wish we never knew the identity of the shooters.
I know.
But also too, I think it goes with money too. Cause like when we think who are the richest people in the world, right? We automatically go Bill Gates, Elon Musk, blah, blah, blah. But there's people like when you look at the Forbes top 5 or whatever, they're people I don't even know.
Yeah.
But what do they want? A bigger number. That's all they want is a bigger number next to their name.
But back in the day, they asked, Rockefeller. They said, "How much money is enough?" And he said, "Just a little bit more."
Yeah, right.
That's how much is enough.
That's what I tell my wife all the time. I know what every woman wants. More.
Yeah.
And then I spend the night on the couch.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep, exactly. But here's the deal, and this is kind of what I wanted to sort of bring out is I think in our world right now today more than ever, we're playing with things that we don't know how lethal they are.
Yeah.
We saw it start with the internet, and we didn't put any guardrails on the internet, and so now what is the most useful and the most destructive thing in our world today is the internet.
mm-hmm.
And then we thought, oh, won't it be fun? Well, create these apps that help us stay connected, and we can share pictures of our dogs.
Yeah.
And now we got this social media beast. I mean, it's a beast. It's destroying people's lives.
It's literally pride, envy, and covetousness.
And we 2012. I mean, you can watch the movie. What's the movie about? Social media.
Social network.
There it is. Yeah. And mental health deterioration in younger people started in 2012.
Absolutely.
Smartphone, social media, all this stuff.
Well, there's one. The social crisis? There's one that they've got on. It was a documentary on it.
Social network.
No, this one is talking about the
Oh no, the social dilemma.
Social dilemma.
Yeah,
I think.
that's it.
That is a pretty mind blowing thing to watch.
It is. Okay, so not to belabor these things too much, but so now we first start with the internet. Now we're going to social media. Now we've gotten the media giants who now have. I mean, I think we can probably all agree have become very, very corrupt. Because,
absolutely.
Because they're not really reporting news, they're sensationalizing news, and it's been documented now that they're trying to lead large people groups into a particular mindset and a particular, Okay, so
because fear makes you tune in.
Yeah.
Fear and anger.
You remember when 9/11 happened? The new terror alert every day. Like my parents would check Fox News just to see if it was orange or yellow.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like we live in Covington, man. Like, calm down.
Yeah. No orange around here. I know. But then, okay, so now what do we got now? What do we got? AI.
That's it.
Artificial intelligence. And that, I just listened to an interview a week ago with a guy who's like, he's on the inside of this stuff. He's a Christian. Mm-hmm. And, so obviously the host asked him the question, well, is it possible for AI to outthink us and decide that we're bad and start to destroy us? And he says, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think it will, because there's a human behind everything, and so but what's behind the human?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's kind of what we got to think.
If you got the right human or the wrong human, however you want to look at it, that has the right wrong influence behind him. What could he unleash with that kind of thing?
This is what terrifies me. It's taking away our ability to think for ourselves.
Yeah. And let's get this. It's it's making it less and less of a requirement to depend on God.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't need faith. You need Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. So what's the internet going to do? It's going to make us more powerful. Man, we live in a powerful world. We can be chatting with people in Australia. We can order things and they show up on our doorstep in 5 minutes. You know, we have YouTube videos as to how to fix your lawnmower, like I'm going to do here. Next couple. I mean, there's so many. Everything's at our fingertips, right?
Yeah.
Internet's going to make us powerful, and then social media. Oh man, think about it. It's going to like unite humanity.
We'll be so connected.
Yes, exactly. And so we're reaching for these things that are going to make us more powerful, more sophisticated, more, and now we're reaching for something that literally is going to live our lives for us.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I wanted to call this platforms is because I just once again read through this article, and basically it said, okay, so Elon Musk, he's a genius. He bought Twitter for several $1 billion. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and immediately started messing it up, like breaking it down.
Yeah.
And his latest thing is he's going to take off the blocking function. Can't block anybody. It's like everybody's like freaking out over this stuff.
It's real world around here, baby.
Yeah.
And he changed it from Twitter to X.
X.
Which kind of messes with my mind a little
Mine
bit.
too.
It's a black logo with a silver.
Where's
X
the
on
bird, man?
Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway, what he's building is he's not the only one building it. There are other people that are building it. He's building a platform, and this platform is going to not only just have a communication component built into it, but it's going to have you're going to be able to get your entertainment through that, make your travel plans through that, you do your grocery shopping, all these services are going to be, so you could have one subscription fee and you could have access to all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be powered by AI. And so
it'll just handle everything for you.
Well, here's the scary thing about it though. Well, it's not scary to me. It's not scary to other people. AI, the nature of it is it gets to know you. That's its job. It's kind of like, every time you do your face recognition, it gets to know you more and more and more. So you shave your beard and it'll still know you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You think AI knows I don't like it?
I'm pretty sure it does by now because he was just telling me the other day.
I knew it.
Watch out for that Pat spray. So anyway, so you subscribe to this service. It's AI driven. AI, you set it up in your whole house, you set it up in your whole environment, your whole world. And so now it starts to know things about you. And so now it knows what entertainment you like and what entertainment you don't like. And it knows where, through your conversations, where you're planning on going, where you plan, so it's going to start anticipating what you need.
Yeah.
It's going to scan your refrigerator and scan your cupboards and your pantries. And so the next grocery order that automatically shows up on your doorstep is going to have butter because you were low on butter. And, it's going to get to know the names of your children and what they like and what they don't like. And it's going to sort of recommend, in ordering, clothing, the appropriate clothing and, all these, it's going to like get inside of your head.
Yep.
And pretty soon, won't it be wonderful? Won't we be so powerful because
we'll do nothing.
We'll just move around in the world, in this world full of peace and joy, because
we'll just exist.
Everything is being managed for us. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to make a name for ourselves.
Well, and it's in complete disregard of actually what we were told to do.
Yep.
God really created us as workers. We're supposed to be, like, the worst thing for me is idle time.
And here's the thing too, is when you say we're workers, right? People immediately think, oh, so I'm supposed to be out tilling something or doing this manual labor. It's like, no, work literally means do.
Yeah.
It means go do something.
Well,
be productive.
and AI, one of the things that bothers me hugely about it is it removes the element of creating.
Right.
And like imagination. What do you need an imagination for?
Yep.
For you don't, heck, you want a new song? Just mess with it in your AI. You want a movie?
Have you done that? Have you Chat GPT'd a song? They
I
are
have not.
garbage lyrics, my man.
I know.
But no, seriously, me and my wife, we were talking the other day. I may have said this last show. I don't remember. I don't have AI in my brain. But we were saying that a lot of people that we've noticed, a lot of people watch life. They don't participate in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and we get to the point to where we're just literally watching the world.
Yeah.
And we're not a part
Well,
of it.
the name of this series right now is very fitting because I'm an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. Total Recall. They literally go, I don't know if people remember, but they go to this place and they pay and they go and they sit in a thing and they get to artificially experience wild not memories, but wild experience. Like you can go in and be James Bond and they plug you in and you seriously think you're there.
Matrix of the 80s.
That honestly doesn't seem like a stretch to me anymore. Like I'm like, that is happening.
I mean, they've got, the big goggles now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, they're going to be glasses pretty soon.
Well, have you seen where you pay with your palm?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All that is just,
I know.
Yeah.
But
it's to make a
the thing is,
platform.
you could wear your glasses all day, and you could be watching things in your glasses. You could be experiencing things.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a break and go to the Amazon and cruise down the Nile River. You know? I mean, just all the stuff at your fingertips.
Yep.
And okay, so on one hand, AI is incredible. But think of the medical advances.
Right.
Yeah.
Think of the technological advances. Think of the way it will shortcut, just about everything we do. The way we manufacture, the way we, the way we go to war against other countries.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff you think, okay, man, this is incredibly amazing until it's not amazing anymore. And until it begins to, once again, what are we going to give it? What is it going to require from us?
Yeah.
What are we going to relinquish?
And that's what scared me. I have an AI based program, Ozone, for mastering music.
Yeah.
And what used to take me sometimes 2-3 days, that quick.
Yeah.
It'll read your music and put in the best EQ, compressor, de-esser settings, like the whole nine. It'll go through it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to do like small tweaks along the way. And my biggest fear is I'm going to learn how to not mix.
Yeah.
Because you'll be relying on that.
Right. I'm going to learn. My ears will go away.
Just put it in the toaster and it pops
I won't
back out
need it
again.
anymore.
I see this all the time with my dad, like working on the farm when we're around, like I'll be mixing chemical and he'll be like, yeah, it's 2 pints to the acre. And I'm like, well, how many ounces are in a pint? Like, I know. And he's like, you don't know how many ounces are in a pint. And he'll say he'll say, you need 3 quarts. And I'm like, well, what's the ounces? Just tell me. And so, I mean, he didn't have a phone at his fingertips to look that up.
Locked
so
in.
he had to know it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I've thought about that about myself. Even, I mean, I had to learn that in school, but I've had a phone. I haven't memorized it at this point because I'm like, well, I can just Google it.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time now.
Isn't it interesting that I don't remember which ancient philosopher it was. It was like Socrates or one of those. That he was totally against writing things down like books, like imprinting things and copying things.
But you had to memorize it?
Because he says,
I think it was Aristotle.
might have been Aristotle, because he said we're going to lose our ability to memorize things.
Yep.
And he was right.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was absolutely right. We don't memorize things,
That's right.
No.
especially now. I mean,
Why need to? Yeah, that's what people say. What's the point?
You got it. And so anyway, my point through this whole thing is how this relates to spiritual warfare. Because when we develop something, we build something on our own that's essentially God-proof, God-resistant,
We build our tower to rely on something else.
and so that we can disobey God, and it won't matter.
Right. And for what outcome?
Is to make a name for ourselves. That's the whole point. Okay, so what does God do? And we're going to wrap this up here in just the next few minutes. He says, behold, and this is what blows me away. He says, behold, they are one people. That means that they're of the same
Mind.
the same kind, the same intention.
They're on the same page.
Yeah. And they all have the same lip, the same language. They're all proclaiming the same thing. And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. And it doesn't say nothing will be impossible for them. It doesn't say they'll be impervious. It doesn't say they're going to be able to take over the universe or anything.
Nothing they purpose.
Purpose to do. So in other words, what are they purposing to do? They're purposing to do something that's going to destroy them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime God intervenes, this is like we see the 10 Commandments and the 613 Levitical laws and all this stuff. We say, oh, that's so oppressive. That's so restrictive. I need to be me. I need to be free.
Safety nets.
God says, no, I'm going to keep you from destroying yourself.
Yeah.
Why did he tell them not to eat pork? Because they didn't have any good ways of cooking that diseased animal. Yeah. I mean, all this stuff was to protect them and to allow them to flourish and not be diseased like other people's, and not, follow after these gods which demanded things of them that were, and then came back on them and destroyed them with evil and ate them up from the inside out. He says this is God intervening. And I made the statement, maybe it was on one of our episodes, that every major incident in the early parts of Genesis were acts of mercy.
Yeah, you did actually. I believe you said that last episode.
So kicks Adam and Eve out of the garden. That's not an act of judgment. It's an act of mercy. He
so it won't be stuck falling.
Exactly. They'll eat from the tree of life in a fallen state, and they'll live forever that way. Same thing with the flood. How are you going to allow the Nephilim to take over literally the entire world? So here we see an act of mercy. He says, "Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." Okay, I'm not exactly sure totally what's going on here. Obviously, at face value, they're working on this tower, and now I can't understand a word you're saying. Yeah. When we don't know sign language, it hadn't been invented.
It must have been summertime. They got too hot.
Yeah.
It almost makes you wonder if he confused their mind.
That's kind of the way that I'm interpreting it here, is that he diffused their intent, he distracted them from, I honestly believe, it just kind of flashed into my mind one day. This is, you remember all of the great revivals and the great awakenings and the great spiritual moves of God, over the years. You point to the Welsh revival, and you point to, the one in the United Kingdom, and then the great 1800 revival that our church was born out of. What are these massive interventions? What confuses the logical mind but spiritual things? And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe I need to pray that God will come and confuse our languages.
Yeah.
Because nothing, we're on a path of destruction, and we're going to get there.
While you were reading that, that's exactly what I'm sitting here thinking. I'm like, so what is our Tower of Babel? Like, what is going to be our, when God's finally like, all right, I gotta intervene. Like, what is it? I mean, what do you think?
I honestly think that, that right now, just like what's happening here, the most important thing, once again, reading with the backdrop of spiritual warfare behind everything, the most crucial thing here is not a city and it's not a tower, even though those are bad things. They're not supposed to happen. The most thing is that they're going after these gods, that they're worshiping other gods, pursuing these other gods that are going to require more. They're going to ask them to write a check that they can't cash, and God knows this.
And I think this is my interpretation. Disclaimer: this is not scripture. This is my interpretation of it. Right? Let's say us three decide, right? We're going to build this tower, get closer to the gods. We're halfway through building it, and what's better than us three having the power of the gods would be me having the power of God.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens.
And you're like, well, I need it.
Yeah.
And you're like, you need it. So we start arguing and bickering.
Absolutely.
I think that was the pivotal point there. I believe that they all started saying, well, who gets that penthouse?
You might actually be true.
Who gets that top floor?
Yeah. Like in, was it Batman, the Dark Knight Rises, when they are robbing the bank and he shoots the guy in the back, and then the next guy is like, what do you say to do with you? And he's like, this, and he shoots him, and then they just keep killing down the chain.
The boss told me to kill you. No, I killed the bus driver.
Yes.
So whatever it was, and all of our takes are speculation. We're not saying that, we're not commentators, but as we kind of, sort of get inside of this dynamic, once again, the Bible was not written to us, it was written for us. We're observers from the outside. But I think we can identify with certain things that are going on here, certain dynamics. What is our tower today? Well, our tower is ourselves. We're so happy with ourselves. We look at what we've invented. We automate all this stuff, and we can, and so now, it's almost like the race to the atomic bomb. We didn't necessarily want to make an atomic bomb so we could use it. We wanted to get there first so that
Same
nobody
thing
could use it on us.
with the space race, man.
Completely. It's all the same. The same things are driving that we're driving this.
Yeah.
And it comes to performance base.
Yeah, and we sugarcoat everything with all the right language, and all the different nations do. Oh, the British Empire is, look at the beautiful British Empire bringing civilization to the world. Oh, isn't America the greatest country in the world? It's a city on a hill. We can bring democracy to everybody, even if they don't want it. We can bring it. We're not the only ones.
Man, we do Willy Wonka everything. We sugarcoat everything.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to dog on anybody. I'm just saying that the consolidation of power and the building of the city, and then fortifying it, enhancing it with the platform, the platform that brings the gods to us that we were never meant to fool with, that we were never meant to worship. They are not supposed to be our objects of worship. And so it says, and you notice here, it says, the Lord scattered them abroad. He made them obey, basically. I'm gonna make you do what I told you to do from the beginning. Scattered them over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. They stopped building the city. They obviously stopped building the tower, but the most important thing God wants us to know is they stopped consolidating power. Yeah. And you know where this was going to lead to?
Babylon.
But this was going to, if they finished the tower, the gods would have come.
Oh, yeah.
And here we got giants all over again.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys are creating the whole thing that I delivered you from all over again.
Yeah.
I kind of had this revelation while you were just saying that, though. They stopped building the city, but we know Babylon came to be.
Absolutely.
And Chaldea came to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And even, again, in Revelation, it brings up Babylon. So what is our Babylon? Because no matter how much the Lord scatters, someone's going to find a way to get back to Babylon.
Yeah. Oh, completely. And you know why? It's because this is what happened after, and this is what we saw. We talked about it last time in Deuteronomy. Well, let's just go there. Deuteronomy 32. Just Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Yeah, I got it marked here and everything. 32:8. Moses is recounting all of this stuff that he wrote about in a song. He's setting it up for Joshua to take over. And he says, when the Most High,
not the high,
the Most High, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of man. He's talking about the Tower of Babel. When he separated the sons of man, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the sons of Israel, sons of God.
Yep.
That's not, Israel is very ambiguous there. It's supposed to be the sons of God. According to the number of the sons of God, the fallen Elohim. Okay, so he scatters the people. Now, my good buddy, Michael Heiser, rest in peace. I just found that out. He describes this perfectly. And this is why it's the setup. It's the last episode before we get to Abraham. He says, this is God's great divorce. He says, I'm through with you people. You are not going to do this to me again. Yeah. And so he scatters them, and then he assigns them a God. You want to worship a God? I give you a God. Yep. I'm going to let that God influence you. Yep. And if you want to worship it, I'm telling you, worship me. But if that's what you want, this is what you're going to get.
I'm staying here in Israel.
I don't want anything to do with it. But here's the cool thing. The next sentence, he says, according to the number of the sons of God, but the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob, Israel, is the allotment of his inheritance. I'm going to take this people, and I'm going to focus on them. Forget it. Y'all can have a bunch of stepdads, stepdaddies. I'm through with you. Yeah. Now you think, oh well, that's very cruel of God to forsake all of the nations. No, his plan is to focus on this people, thereby bringing the Messiah, Jesus himself in human form, that will then begin to draw all the nations. Back to him.
That's what I was just gonna say after that, is what happened at Pentecost.
It was the reversal of the Tower of Babel. For sure it was. Yep. He makes it so everybody can now hear in their own language. The languages aren't confused anymore.
And so it's very clearly in scriptures, how do you overcome the Tower of Babel? And it's through the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I wish I could. Yes. Oh, Thank you, Jesus. You directed me right to it. Colossians 2. Okay, so how is Jesus going to begin to draw all nations back to him? First off, he sends the Holy Spirit, which reverses the Tower of Babel. Now everybody's speaking, they can understand again the gospel, the message of Jesus. Okay. He says,
Colossians what?
Colossians 2:13. And when you were dead in your transgressions and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he made you alive together with him, having forgiven us all our transgressions, having canceled out the certificate of debt consisting of decrees against us and which was hostile to us. And he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. What happened next? When he had disarmed
Rulers and authorities.
the rulers and authorities, he made a public display of them, having triumphed over them through him.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he begins to draw the nations back. He starts to destroy their gods.
Yeah.
He disarms their gods. Spiritual warfare right there. So what you see at the Tower of Babel, you now see in the New Testament when Jesus disarmed the rulers and the authorities. These little g gods.
And how cool is it that he expressly says it that way too? Canceled our certificate of debt,
Yes.
consisting of degrees against us, which were hostile to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that not exactly what happened at the Tower of Babel?
It's exactly what happened.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
we certificate of debt. They did it. You know what I mean? And they set up these little g platforms.
Yes.
And what did he do to it? He nailed it to the cross.
Yes. In 1 Corinthians 15, he says, then comes the end when he delivers up the kingdom to God and to the God and Father, when he has abolished all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign until he has put all his enemies under his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, the great divorce. He says, y'all go to your corner, go to your room.
Yeah.
I'm giving you, and from that moment on, it's Yahweh against the gods, gods against Yahweh, Israel against the nations against Israel. It's a cosmic war.
Yeah.
It's not about territory. It's about authority. And it's about power. And so, yes, what do we see from that point on? We got the, Assyrian Empire, and we got the Babylonian Empire, and then we got the Greek Empire, and then we got the Roman Empire. And that's why, Daniel identifies them all as beasts.
Yeah.
They're all beasts.
So do you think Israel, like in today's time, looking at it, is that why? I mean, Israel is never at peace.
I think that, this is a very confusing subject, but yes, that is one reason, because they have not been reconciled to God through Jesus.
And the thing about spiritual warfare too is it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. So here's the way we're going to close, because, okay, so what's missing when we build cities and towers? What is missing in this empire mentality? What's missing in this make a name for ourselves? Everything spiritual everything godly is missing from it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what the enemy requires of us is that we do away with community, true community, the brotherhood and sisterhood, family, what do you see right now? We don't even know what a family looks like right now.
Yeah.
Community, prayer, spiritual growth, personal growth,
humility,
which includes humility, and worship.
Mm-hmm.
Though we're told not to worship anything, but yet we're told to worship everything.
Yeah.
We're told prayer is stupid. The prayer is not necessary. We call it meditation. We call it self-affirmation.
Vibes
exactly.
and thoughts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actual spiritual growth, we substitute intellect for that.
Yeah.
And
self-help,
and in community, what is the first thing that this God that we're platforming wants to do? Is isolate us.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's so deceiving, because you made the statement, oh, look, now we're all connected.
Yeah.
But we're all connected from a distance. We're all in our own little corner. We're all isolated.
Yep.
We don't know what another person is thinking. We have to assume from what they write and from the pictures that they post and the posts that they make. We're not really connected.
Right.
We're isolated. And when we are isolated, We listen to everything.
That's it.
We hear all the voices of the influencer. The next half of this series, we're going to, and just spoiler alert, we're going to look at the weapons of spiritual warfare, which are community and prayer and personal growth spiritually and worship.
And man, they are mighty, mighty weapons.
And I'm a fan of weapons, so I'm looking forward to this.
But we're talking about, this
some really powerful weapons.
They're life-changing.
Yeah.
Because we can sit here and talk about all these things, right? But when you engage in community, like we do it every Thursday, when you engage in community, like it's illuminating.
Yeah.
Like it's pivotal. You can tell that it's a big deal. When you go for real into prayer, you feel that real connection and communication with the Lord.
And we're going to look at all the different kinds of prayer too. It's not just one prayer, where it's just me and Jesus. That's really important. That's really good.
Yeah.
But there is
pray in the Spirit,
persistent prayer, intercessory prayer. There's prayers of supplication, prayers of thanksgiving, just all those different kinds of prayers. But most everything we do that makes an impact in the kingdom is done in community. Mm-hmm. You don't sit in your corner and have this tremendous impact on the spiritual world. It's done in community. And I'm not talking about a club.
Right.
Community is not gathering with people who are just like you. Community is intentionally gathering with people that you would never gather with under any other circumstance.
That's right.
Old people and young people and, all people of all colors and everything.
I was going to ask then, that actually makes me think about something. So when the pandemic happened, churches were shut down.
Yeah.
And everybody went digital. And, a lot of churches that maybe weren't digital at the time went digital.
Yeah.
And you see people that are now, churches are back in and they still are putting out the digital stuff. I mean, we broadcast every Sunday, and that's great for people that can't get out. We've talked about this before, but it almost makes me think like, what other influence is going on in the background that's trying to keep those people? Man, you don't need to go to church anymore. You can just sit here on the couch in your pajamas and you can watch the service and you're just as in there.
But what happens with that too? Those who want to and can't will continue to watch and continue to be engaged that way. Those who are using that as a substitute, it's not a substitute for long.
Yeah. They just quit. Yeah.
It is.
They'll start checking their email halfway through it, or something will come up.
Or they won't even bother.
Yeah.
They'll just go, I'll just watch it later.
Yep.
And they don't.
Later never comes.
No, I know. And that's not criticizing anybody. I'm telling you, if you try and convince me that there's not an influencer behind that.
That's what I'm saying. This is like, I've been thinking about that just now. I'm like, man, that is crazy to think our worship, the church is like the church is an influence there, but people thinking that they're like attending church, they're actually being influenced.
Yep. But see, I would even challenge that and say that there are people that come to church that don't come to church.
Completely.
Oh yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you see them. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm sure they're asleep.
And I want them to be there. I'm glad they're there. And I totally refrain from criticizing anybody, but how they do or don't worship. I'm just glad they're there because the Holy Spirit's there, and it's our job as worship leaders, and growing Christians to make sure that the Holy Spirit is there and flows unrestrained.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is there's 1,000 reasons why people shouldn't come to church, or why they should just watch online, or maybe they shouldn't worship the way they want to, but there's only one reason why we can't let it affect us, and we got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, all the scriptures that we see about gathering together in community, all the scriptures that we see about pray without ceasing, all the scriptures that we see about study to show yourself approved, rightly dividing the word of truth, understand what all this stuff is about, all this stuff, our commands to worship and all of the worship material that's in the Bible. These are not good suggestions. Right. They are not things you just ought to do to make yourself a better person or to enhance your life. These are, when he says, don't forsake the assembly, he's saying, whatever you do, don't stop meeting together.
Yeah. Well, what's the great commandment? Is to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, right?
And love your neighbor as yourself.
And love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
That's a call to action.
Yeah.
It's a call to spiritual warfare.
It is. It's you show up You
Yeah.
come prepared. You come to find the Lord in
Yeah.
every situation. And here's the thing: is if you're studying, you're not reading an old ancient text. You're studying God.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
You know, when you're worshiping, you're not coming to study a song, and you're not here to hit every note perfectly. You're here to praise God.
Yeah.
Participate
Together.
because that is your spiritual warfare.
That's it.
Because when you fall prey to the influencer that says that's not important in your life, you've left your back door open.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just telling you that you do. And maybe when things were a little calmer, maybe because when we were kids, no matter when it was all
It was
better,
better
right?
then, right?
But I don't want anybody to walk or live in fear. I want everybody I want us to be fully armed and fully dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, when you're actively fighting spiritual warfare, it brings you joy because
Oh.
it eliminates the fear.
Yeah.
Completely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Completely.
you're not walking around scared. There, like you said earlier, there's not a demon behind every bush.
Yeah.
Like, you're not worried about that crap. You're
Yeah.
just trying to have a good time. You're trying to have fun with your other believers and unbelievers.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever seen people approach an unbeliever in a very aggressive way?
Yeah.
Like, man, you need to go and check yourself first.
Yeah.
You know, that's not doing anything for the kingdom.
But when we are fully armed with community and with prayer and with growth and with worship, we walk out into the world and literally,
Floating.
Jesus said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be done for you. I mean, you won't have to walk out in fear, and you won't continually leave that back door open to those lies and those voices and those influences. And you also, when you watch the news and when you interact with other people, you can call it for what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you react to things differently.
Absolutely.
Like I'll tell you, like I was telling you guys earlier, like I don't have air conditioning right now. My internet, my cable just got ran over by my neighbor on his lawnmower. But like if it was just 6 months ago, I would have been flipping out.
You would have cursed it.
Yeah, I would have been
Cursed it to the
like,
pits.
what is going on? But today when it happened, I just kind of looked at my wife. I was like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
You need to rebuke it and cast
Yeah,
it out.
that's
That's
it,
what I'm
right?
saying. You're going to cast it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
right.
gonna be all right.
So anyway, we're gonna get into a few little other things when I finally put this together in sermon format. But I just really wanted to kind of dissect this a little bit to get everybody thinking. Just get everybody thinking. What influencer are we platforming?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about all the different platforms that we have in our world. I'm going to talk about the podium and the stage and all the ways that we exalt people above us or that people exalt themselves. Because if you're an influencer, you got to have a platform.
Yeah.
But I'm also then going to talk about the original platform, the platform that's older than all of them, and that's the platform that God wants us to build, and that's the altar.
Okay, let me ask you this, just for everyone out there. What is the difference between being an influencer and spreading the gospel?
You tell me.
It's about self.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Really, it is.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing. But is it about you or is it
That's
about
good.
God?
Yeah.
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 You're exactly right.
And it's something that we talk about with the bridge all the time. It's what is your motive?
Well, and if you built the altar, then you sacrificed yourself, because that's what the altar's for. And now it's a platform for God.
That's right.
So you're platforming God. You're not platforming yourself.
There it is.
Yeah.
Hey,
See?
man, we should
Conversation
write
comes
that down.
Yeah, that's chapter 1 of the new book.
All right. Well, I think we've wrung this one out pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
So, think about this. Read through it a couple of times. You'll get some stuff out of it.
Now,
For sure. Guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We will be back here next week. Again, hit that like button, hit subscribe, share it on all your platforms.
That's right.
and comment too. I read the comments.
Comments are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know.
Even if you disagree.
Yeah,
and
for
if you
sure.
have a burning topic that you just want explained,
Yeah, we do read the comments. We want involvement.
You know, as we get a little bit further into this, we're going to do a Q&A regularly.
Oh, nice.
So we can just, we'll get questions. People will send them in.
I'm anonymously
Yeah,
sing,
I know
sing
you are.
questions
Send
in
some
to
in,
Peter.
yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna start thinking of some good ones.
This will be fun though, because
Yeah.
our goal is not to platform ourselves.
Yeah.
Our goal is to really
Community.
discover to the best of our ability what the Bible really says and
Yeah.
how it speaks, because it reveals God to us.
Yeah.
That's it.
Guys,
and you know, and sorry, but also too is when we dive into this, it shows that not that we know a lot, it shows that we don't know a lot,
Yeah.
and we get more from this.
And more is revealed to us.
well, that's
it.
what this is for me. This is part of the community because
Yeah.
I've had to dive into some stuff because I've been like, I don't know what the
I
heck
know.
this is,
Yeah.
but I'm pumped up to get into it. So
It's awesome.
And I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot of fun.
it is.
It's
It
a lot
is.
of fun.
Guys, thank y'all. We'll catch you next week.
Amen.